right, thank you for staying with Business Today. And of course, we are back with another conversation. We'll be talking about microinsurance. And joining us is Lisa Maru, who is the head of innovation at Britam. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kelvin.
All right, so just with the basics, let's first of all start with the basics and look at microinsurance. And of course, it's dealing with a low-income earner, someone who is doing maybe an SME, or the people who are getting really just salaries that are not that big.
Yeah.
So how easy is it for someone to get this particular insurance?
So microinsurance is actually insurance that is targeted to underserved segments in the communities. So think of the low-income earners, who would include like farmers, informal workers. And microinsurance, how we've tried to make it more accessible is that we are selling it through telcos, some fintechs such as, for instance, retail companies, retail techs. We're also selling it through associations. So think of Kenya Tea Development Authority, where we are actually selling our flagship product for tea farmers.
Okay.
So we break it down into monthly payments, daily payments, just to make it more affordable to these communities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very well explained. And now, of course, let's now get into what has been, of course, climate change has done its damages. There's been floods, a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So when you look at the insurance industry, how does it leverage its resources and expertise to support at least vulnerable communities that have been affected by climate change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are very cognizant that climate change is becoming more real as the years go. So far, statistics says that 3.4 million Kenyans have been affected by climate change, and particularly 500,000 people have been displaced by floods.
Yes.
So with that statistic, we're very cognizant that even the insurance industry needs to do something. And what we've been doing is developing innovative solutions that leverage on satellite technology, and also partnering with the government and NGOs to deliver solutions to be more affordable as well as accessible to communities. An example would be crop insurance, which covers for extreme drought as well as extreme rainfall. So for instance, a farmer in a rural area in Kenya is able to buy crop insurance just from it being inputted in their seed, the seed that they purchase, and they're able to be covered for maybe the seed not germinating as a result of excessive rainfall or very low rainfall. Now, when it comes to floods, Britam has been piloting a flood insurance program called Britam Mafuriko in Tana River County, which is looking at the vulnerable households, particularly who live along the river. And we have been able to roll out this flood program to 300 households and paid out some amount of money as a result of the heavy rainfall that has been happening in the last few months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about Britam. Let's look at the insurance industry at large.
Yeah.
Let's look at the droughts, of course, and the floods. Of course, there are areas that are experiencing floods, and as well, there are other areas also experiencing drought, because someone might not be relating to other places that are receiving drought. And how does the Kenyan insurance industry play a role in mitigating the financial risks that usually come with this kind of disasters?
So how we view climate insurance as an industry is that it's part of an integrated risk management role. So we are coming in as one of the efforts of climate risk response. So for instance, we have a product for flood, which is actually working together with an NGO like Oxfam to be able to support their households beyond what Oxfam can do.
Yes.
So we are also working with the World Bank and the government of Kenya to roll out pastoralist livestock insurance, which is covering pastoralists in case maybe the drought level is very high and they're not able to get fodder for their animals. So the insurance company is coming to play. And just to give you the perspective of how serious the insurance company is, we are actually forming consortiums to be able to roll out the solutions. So for instance, there are two consortiums, one focusing on the crop and another one which is focusing on livestock, and they're all delivering to be able to roll out these solutions across the regions and to build capacity. You know, one insurance can't do it alone. We are cognizant that we have to do it as a group, and we're working with international reinsurance companies to be able to even cushion these risks from our end.
Okay, now let's look at a community, a vulnerable community, not of course in a city area or in a town, but in the rural area, a very remote area. And they've gotten this disaster, they've been affected, they don't have anywhere to go. How do you come in, and how do they even get access to this help? Because someone might be seated at home saying, okay, so how do you make sure that me, who is not in maybe a reachable area, is also covered in this?
So we actually really leverage on community groups. So you think of it as cooperatives, the chamas, the aggregators, the pastoralist groups to be able to distribute this program. We identify, I would say, champions who will be able to educate the communities about the program, and then they're able to distribute it and make them aware about this program. So for instance, when you go to Tana River County, they will say either insurance, they relate the insurance to pesa ya ukame or pesa ya mafuriko. So it's because that is how it's well explained with the people who they know. So we leverage on peer-to-peer distribution for the program.
All right. Even as you engage with the locals and try to help the locals, let us look at the insurance industry trying to work with even different stakeholders in order to support this kind of communities and this kind of people who are really going through a lot, especially during disasters. How does that work when it comes to working with stakeholders?
So we work with various stakeholders. So for instance, the government has been really key, especially in the climate insurance space. So let's just take a look at this pastoralist livestock insurance, which is looking at distributing insurance to the arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya. The government has been a key stakeholder by enabling us to use the extension officers to make people aware about the program, but at the same time to distribute the product to the different pastoralists. On top of it, the government is subsidizing part of the premium, about 80% of the premium. So this makes it more affordable to the communities because most of them are very, very vulnerable. The NGOs are coming into play as well. So for instance, Oxfam is able to pay for premiums for a select number of households just because of how vulnerable they are to floods, and they're not able to afford it. So stakeholders have been really key in ensuring that we roll out the programs sustainably, but at the same time to offer the right support to the communities.
Okay. Right. Still on these communities, how easy is it to convince them? Because you can't just go, someone has really been affected by floods. Maybe on this other side, the drought has really affected the family. They've not had food for a very long time. And on this other side, water has taken everything. Their house is down. They don't have anything to even salvage. At the end of the day, how do you convince such a person that, okay, we're going to come in, we're going to give you a place to go, we're going to make sure that at least we take care of whatever has happened. So when it comes to this, what do you think needs to happen? And also, how easy is it to even convince a community like this?
The truth is it's not easy, but what we realize is that trust is earned, and trust is only earned by paying claims when you need to pay claims. So for instance, if there's a flood happening right now, the floods have been happening since last year in December, Britam and the rest of the insurance industry have demonstrated that you have to pay claims for you to get the trust. So in the next cycle, when you're actually trying to convince the communities, they'll be looking for you and not necessarily you having to do the heavy lifting of convincing. So the payment of claims is key, especially in this segment.
All right. So to another issue, how do you make sure that the insurance product are accessible to these particular communities, and how do you even manage to make them the products available?
So we do that in different fronts. So first of all, we raise awareness through radio stations across the regions. And we also, I would say, employ champions in the ground to be able to push the program.
Okay.
And then finally, leveraging on technology. So for instance, a household is able to be onboarded just from a click of a button using USSD. So you don't have to do a lot of proposal forms to be able to be filled for you to be able to get access to the insurance. Yeah.
All right. And also now to a different issue. A disaster has come. A community has been helped. They have gotten a place to stay. They've gotten all these other products. Now, how do you sustain that going forward? How do you make sure that these people that, or this particular community that has been helped for this period is sustained going forward?
I think there has to be an integration. Insurance is not the only solution to climate change risk.
Yes.
It's part of it's part of a concerted effort. So for instance, if it's a flood-prone area, there has to be an effort to build very flood-resistant infrastructure and houses. There have to be a lot of education to the communities to not stay very close to the rivers, so that you encourage people to move away from the rivers and they take care of themselves. And then insurance comes in as a catastrophic role. That way we can sustainably offer insurance for a long period of time, but at the same time we make sure that the community remains resilient through time.
All right. And now, of course, to a different issue, but still on microinsurance, when it comes to how communities are being just managed through, or making sure that the economic burden that has happened to, or they have experienced on the affected communities, that it's no longer going to bring an issue going forward. Do you work in a way to make sure that you advise maybe the people around how to deal with disasters like this? Do you work with various maybe village elders to make sure that at least at the end of the day, drought on this other side is also taken care of going forward?
Yeah, so for instance, for crop insurance, we do both the insurance, but at the same time we work with partners to be able to drive farmers to do climate smart agriculture. So you encourage them to take up agricultural practices that are sustainable. So for instance, doing more irrigation during the drought season, if they need to plant a different crop based on whatever the Met department has said would be the forecasted weather for that period. So we work hand in hand with other organizations and agencies that's to be able to make sure that the farmer is actually okay in the long run, because insurance is part of the risk management, but it's not the only one. It has to be done with other risk management practices.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And also, now that you've mentioned seed integration, as you've mentioned it, now when you look at farmers going forward, how do you convince a farmer who has been a maize farmer, this is, okay, they've been a maize farmer, but now you're bringing in a new crop for it to be resilient even during the drought season or the dry seasons? How do you fix the disconnect between the farmer and someone who is coming to talk to them about it, or even trying to push it to them? Yeah.
So I think for agriculture, it's interesting because it has to be a combined effort with the government as well, and that is the government extension officers. So you find that the extension officers go and encourage and train farmers on what crop to plant, how to plant it, and when to plant it. Yes. And then insurance comes in as one of the risk management tools that is used for the farmer. So I would say the government plays a big role in trying to transition farmers from what they knew as the ordinary ways of practices to the new ways of practicing. Okay. We're also seeing a lot of technological companies and funds coming up to be able to do the same, just being able to provide training and education to farmers, particularly when it comes to the right crop to grow and when to grow it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the future of microinsurance. Now that very many disasters are coming and we have very many businesses being displaced, we have very many people being displaced, the future of microinsurance, what do you think is not being done that is supposed to be done in order for it to be easy on people? Because someone might hear, okay, microinsurance, I'm not really well conversant with that. So going forward, what needs to be done in order for at least it to be easy for people, even so that when disasters come, it's easy for them to really get the products that are there?
I think it's two things. The first one is raising awareness and training on insurance. Just the basic knowledge of insurance in Kenya is quite low. And so there has to be a lot more work being put by the insurance industry to deliver this. The second one is improving affordability of some of the solutions we have.
Okay.
Although the insurance industry is truly working hard towards it, I think a big part of the population is still being left behind by the kind of solutions we create. So if we're able to create more affordable solutions and reach a larger scale, then I would see that microinsurance would be the key to securing people's future.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us and speaking to us about microinsurance and also how this can be connected into the climate change strategies that many people are looking at. We've come to the end of this edition of Business Today. My name is Kelvin Yakundi. Stick around. BRKTN is coming up next.